Roger Stone of StoneZone.com. So much has happened since I talked to you Sunday. I've thrown out a lot of topics, a lot of issues. Where should we start? What's front and center?
Well, it's very hard to know where to start, Alex. I mean, first of all, you have the question of voter fraud, more precisely, election theft. I mean, voter fraud itself, while not non-existent, as the left would tell you, is essentially more limited. The larger problem here is election theft, the manipulation of what used to be known as the Diebold machines in common usage across the country. Now, if the Clintons would steal the election from Bernie Sanders, the nomination, as the DNC WikiLeaks proved they did, why would they not steal the election from Donald Trump if they can? I know among political elites they poo-poo this idea, but from a technological point of view, this stunning video put up by CBS, not Breitbart, not Town Hall, not Daily Caller, not InfoWars, CBS, shows how simple and easy it is to program the voting machines for a desired result. The polls, the manipulation of the polls, Reuters got caught red-handed, a number of others have, that's the precursor to the fix of the machines. In other words, you condition people to expect a Clinton victory, and then you deliver that exact victory in the polls. How can this be combated is the question most Trump supporters ask me. And there are several ways. First of all, in the window that we have, 60 days, I advocate locating and registering 1 million new Trump voters in the very states that will be up as a potential to be stolen. You can go to Restore, just get it exactly right, I think it's RestoreAmericasGreatness.org, where there's a very active effort to locate and register new Trump voters in states like Ohio and Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Colorado and Iowa and others that will be up for grabs. Secondarily, we're going to need an army of trained poll watchers, people who know what to look for. I am seeking to contact and retain some of the country's leading experts on the computer manipulation of these machines to advise us. And then lastly, I think it is very important that every single Trump voter be found and turned out. I don't have the confidence that the Trump campaign will be able to cover every precinct, but I think perhaps with grassroots assistance, they will be. So we will be unveiling a comprehensive program shortly to combat this election theft.
Speaking of that CBS News report, hacker demonstrates how voting machines can be compromised. If you go to YouTube and type in election fraud US, you will see hundreds of newscasts, hundreds of experts, Diebold chief engineers, congressional legislature testimony, local legislatures in Florida and Ohio, and certified fraud and admitted fraud. And I mean, there's famous examples. But for Obama to go, election fraud, what's that? I mean, it's like Hillary saying, what's Turkey, when the Armed Services Committee asked her about the Turkish ambassador. I mean, they just play stupid over and over and over again. Here's a clip from that CBS News piece. I got to say, good job for CBS News actually doing some real reporting.
Concerns are growing this morning over the possibility of a hacked presidential election. Experts believe a cyber attack this year could be a reality, especially following the hack of DNC emails.
The ranking member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee sent a letter Monday to the Homeland Security Secretary. It said in part, election security is critical, and a cyber attack by foreign actors on our election systems could compromise the integrity of our voting process. Maria Villarreal is in Los Angeles to show us how this could happen and if there is a fix. Maria, good morning.
Well, good morning. Roughly 70% of the states in the U.S. use some form of electronic voting machine. Hackers tell me the problems with these machines have been around for years. The system and the computer are both old and antiquated. With millions expected to hit the polls in just 3 short months for the presidential election, security experts are now raising some red flags.
And I'm afraid the election's going to be rigged, I have to be honest.
For weeks, Donald Trump has told his supporters the outcome of the 2016 election could be out of his control.
Good question.
But for the hackers at Symantec Security Response, Election Day results could be manipulated by an affordable device you can find online.
I can insert it, and then it resets the card, and now I'm able to vote again.
The voter doesn't even need to leave the booth to hack the machine. And how much does that cost?
$15.
So for $15, I could hack the vote.
For $15 and in-depth knowledge of the card, you could hack the vote.
Symantec Director Kevin Haley says elections can also be hacked by breaking into the machines after the votes are collected.
The results go from that machine into a piece of electronics that takes it to the central counting place. That data is not encrypted, and that's vulnerable for manipulation.
How big of a hacking potential problem is this?
Well, there's a huge potential. There are so many places in the voting process once it goes electronic that's vulnerable.
According to a report from the Brennan Center for Justice, one reason these voting systems are so vulnerable is their age.
We found that more than 40 states are using voting machines that are at least 10 years old.
Our system is as secure as we can possibly make it.
Denise Merrill, president of the National Association of Secretaries of State, says the lack of funding keeps most precincts from updating their systems. But all machines have to meet specific government standards.
The idea of a national hack of some sort is almost ridiculous because there is no national system.
In fact, the more than 9,000 voting districts across the country all have different ways of running their elections down to the type of machine they use. But Merrill says there are checks in place to prevent fraud.
Our voting systems are heavily regulated. They're tested both before and after. There are paper trails everywhere. By and large, I would say the American election system works very well.
CBS learned that only 60% of states routinely conduct audits post-election by checking paper trails. But not all states even have paper records, like in some parts of swing states like Virginia and Pennsylvania, which experts say could be devastating. The Election Assistance Commission told us that they ensure all voting systems are vigorously tested against security standards, and that systems certified by the EAC are not connected to the internet. Gail?
Well, less than 100 days. We're going to the polls. Thank you, Maria, very much.
All right, I'm going to go back to Roger Stone on this, but he wanted us to air this piece, and I'm glad we did. Now, I say good job admitting at least that these machines are easy to hack. It's happened many times. But at the end, they totally deceive the public. Maybe they're ignorant, so let me enlighten CBS right now. Right after Kennedy got killed, they started having the Associated Press coordinate with the states, and then it would announce who the winner was. Then they changed the name in 1990 to Voter News Services. And by the way, Mr. Stone has been part of famous recounts at the highest level, so he's an expert. We'll speak to him in a moment and skip the break to have more time. But every major election, if you just Google Voter News Services, they've had so many problems. They changed the name in 2003 to National Election Pool, but was set up by the exact same group. So again, it was AP announced that Bernie Sanders was going to win by a certain point the day before because they, quote, met with the superdelegates at a rich person's house. Oh, I see. But they went ahead with the election. What they do is they will fix it in key battleground states, steal it, and then have it called by this private consortium headed up by AP to go ahead and announce hands down what's happened. And then later, it's hard to do a recount. Now, that's a layperson's breakdown of that. Roger Stone, StoneZone.com, former campaign head for Trump. But is that pretty accurate, what I just said?
Yeah, I think everything you said is accurate. I'd make a couple points about the CBS video. First of all, it's not foreign actors I'm worried about. It's domestic actors, those who have custody of the machines. The woman at the end of that video who says, well, the machines are heavily regulated. Exactly. It's the regulators I'm worried about. So, for example, the Diebold PES machine is in wide use in California. They're in the custody of the Secretary of State. I attempted to reach him. His name is Alex Padilla. I couldn't find him, unfortunately. He was out campaigning for Hillary Clinton. I remember well when the Democrats went out of their mind because the Florida Secretary of State, Katherine Harris, was actively campaigning and had a title in the Bush campaign. But you have an identical situation here in California. The machines are fixed after the fact. They keep the same number of votes. They just rejigger total. And they've already laid the groundwork by manipulation of the polls. Unfortunately, this is also how you detect the fraud. If you take an honest poll, and we intend to do that, and then compare the results on a precinct basis or on a subdivision basis, and the swing from the poll to the final results defies the mathematical odds given the time frame, then you have prima facie evidence of fraud.
On its face, you have it. And expanding on that, Roger Stone, exit polls from my research are generally, depending on who conducts them, 3 to 5% margin of error, very accurate. So we need to conduct exit polls in these key precincts, key battlegrounds, to immediately cry foul if something doesn't show up that we expect to see from the real polls.
Very definitely a part of the plan that we are putting together to protect Donald Trump from election rigging. Trump himself, I think, has played a vital role already.
Raising awareness.
By heightening public awareness to this very real problem. I mean, it is almost laughable in terms of the last couple of days, Alex. First of all, I myself have been hacked into my personal accounts, my business accounts, my political work. A number of my bank accounts have been accessed, all within the last 48 hours. As soon as it became publicly known that I was in communication with Julian Assange, now there is a massive effort on Twitter and Facebook to discredit Assange. That's because the Clintonistas know that Mr. Assange, who I believe is a hero, who's fighting the deep police state, they know Mr. Assange has all of the emails that Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, Hillary's flunkies, thought they erased. Now, if those emails were worth taking the public heat for having erased them, it tells you that what's in them is extraordinarily significant. So now there is a giant effort online to discredit.
This is Roger Stone hacked after talking to, yeah. Well, I tell you, I'm just trying to think of the headline I should go with here. Roger Stone hacked after talking to Assange. I mean, this is like an espionage movie. And then we've got Democratic press communications PR agent hired to shut down Seth Rich conspiracy theories. And it's a top consultant that works for the Clintons. This guy shot 4 times in the back, high level, dealing with the emails. And then Assange telegraphs on Dutch TV that he's the source and that these bombshells are about to come out. This is amazing.
Yeah, there is a giant effort online. These are the twerps at Correct the Record, constantly saying that we, the Trump supporters, are trying to stage a constitutional crisis based on rigging this election. I say to you, no, Alex. Those who are causing a constitutional crisis are the ones who are rigging the machines. All we want is an honest count. If we have an honest count, there's no question in my mind that Donald Trump, despite the beating he's taking from the mainstream media, distorting and twisting and focusing on everything he says, while giving Hillary largely a free pass on the startling revelations that she's now under investigation through their foundation at the IRS, that she did indeed arm ISIS. I mean, come off of it, David Brock. She armed ISIS. It's an undisputable fact, no matter how many.
I was about to say, they can't run from this. I mean, there's a sense of this is just mounting by the minute, and then real liberals like Assange, who exposed Bush for bad stuff, and we thank him for that. I said, we'll know if he's for real if he goes after Obama and Hillary. He's been doing that, and I tell you, he's a real hero. I wish he would go ahead and release the data dump now. I understand it might have more power if he did it a month before the election, but I tell you, we need to bring Hillary down now, Roger.
Well, I think he may choose to release it before each one of the debates, release some emails just before the debates so that Hillary has...
Well, for your safety and everybody's safety, because obviously they hit your emails and took over your bank accounts and everything, governmental level, to find out what you're up to, what you're doing. Just for everybody's safety, did Assange give you any info? Because, I mean, I think if you've got it, you've got to put it out now.
I'm not at liberty to discuss what I have, and I kind of have a foreshadowing, but nobody affects Julian Assange. Nobody tells this guy what to do. He understands.
No, obviously, no one's implying that. What I'm saying is, because, I mean, we haven't talked about this, because I only talk about stuff like this on record. If I was Assange, you'd be a smart guy to give some data caches to, and I'd be giving it to hundreds of trusted people right now.
Well, I lost some data in the hacking. Some things that I was about to publish, manuscript for my next book on the Clintons has been stolen. Some other items, nothing that is not recoverable. But for example, my entire contact list, people I deal with regularly, is wiped out. It's gone.
And by the way, you don't like to bitch and complain, but we have to report this as a war. You're being audited. You've paid them, and they're just saying you didn't pay your taxes 2 years ago.
Yeah, the IRS is harassing me over 2014. I paid all my taxes and everything owed.
And they just say they're ignoring your check, they're ignoring the cash check and your return. They just say you're a criminal and you didn't pay.
Well, first of all, I've been through this. Somebody filed a false return in my name. That means when I went to file my return online, the system kicked me out. I had to hire an attorney, we filed the correct forms, and we paid our taxes. This is all documented in writing in the correspondence between my lawyer and the IRS. Now the IRS has amnesia. Like none of this happened. We're right back where we were. You never paid your 2014 taxes, despite the fact that I have a canceled check and all this correspondence. No, it's harassment.
It's amazing, and they are pulling out all the stops, folks. I mean, it is incredible. Let's get down to brass tacks here. What is the true nature of the polls? I mean, I see so many that are frauds, but at the same time, I don't want to discount them all. From internal polling, from your own research, where are Trump and Hillary right now in the general election? But also, what about those battleground states? Is he really losing ground there?
No, there's no evidence that he is. He remains in range. He is ahead in some of the battleground states. Still, I believe he's still ahead in Florida by a point or two. He's behind in others. The gap is not 9 points. It's not 15 points. In every case, he's within range. I must tell you, I never expected in this race for him to be ahead of Hillary until the end. Ronald Reagan was never ahead.
Explain that phenomenon, because you've been saying that for over a year here on the show, that you think it's going to be tight till the end.
Well, first of all, you have so many cataclysmic and big level events here. The debates are going to change the numbers. Whatever Mr. Assange drops and Trump's and Hillary's reaction to it could change the numbers. The country is almost evenly matched between left and right. They've done a better job over the years of voter registration than the Republicans have ever done. There is also now a growing chasm between Trump and the Republican National Committee. Because
I was about to raise that, though. He's the main fundraiser. He's bringing in big money now. And you've got the old Republican establishment saying, take the money away from Trump, give him nothing. They're openly trying to sabotage things for Hillary because he'll just quit recruiting and getting money, and then that'll hurt all the Republicans. They're obvious saboteurs.
Well, but the other thing that's true is we cannot reach agreement in terms of who ought to be targeted. In other words, there are blue-collar, union member Democratic votes out there who will go for Donald Trump, but will probably not vote for the balance of the Republican ticket. If you're in the Trump campaign, if you're in the Trump camp, as I am, you want those voters contacted and turned out. The Republican National Committee...
Strategically, we need Trump. Strategically, we need Trump. We can't trust new crops of Republicans that get, taken over every time.
Indeed. And they just want to turn out the Republican vote in order to protect their congressional incumbents. Virginia is a perfect example of this. Trump has great crossover appeal that the rest of the party ticket does not have. We need to be targeting Trump voters, not Republican voters.
Roger Stone, other points that need to be gotten into here. I mean, look, they hire this top Democrat crisis manager to, quote, take over statements for the family in Seth Rich's death. We have other folks, Friends of D.C. linked lawyer that was suing over it being stolen from Bernie. Sean Lucas freaked out by his death. We've got a bunch of other deaths going on. I mean, this smells.
Yeah, you have Alex, the deaths of Seth Rich, John Ash, and Sean Lucas in short order, all of them connected to the heist of the Democratic national nomination by Hillary with the inside mole assistance of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So, and when you raise this publicly, these are 3 deaths, you're immediately smeared as a conspiracy theorist. Well, if it were 1 death, perhaps you'd say, all right, a coincidence. 3 deaths? Really? I don't think it's unreasonable to scratch your head and say, why are 3 insiders with intimate knowledge of the machinations at the DNC that stole this nomination for Hillary now pushing up daisies? That's entirely...
I'll tell you this, Assange has got giant eggs, because if you look at this, he knows it's hurting Hillary. She's degenerating under the stress daily. Whatever's in these emails has got her scared to death. You can see it. She looks like a cornered, hairless rat. They're totally freaking out. And Assange is just pushing and playing chicken with these folks. This is such a historic time.
Well, and beyond that, it's very clear that Hillary's health is not good. I have reason to believe that the documents that were leaked recently from the hospital in Mount Kisco, New York, which is close to Chappaqua, are...
Oh, you believe those documents are real?
I believe that they are. I am still researching it. I am not finished. But the physical evidence, just the video you can watch of her, and now this mysterious African-American doctor who is with her at all times.
He runs around with a tranquilizer dart. Hold on. I want to see if we can do 5 more minutes with us, or maybe longer. And there's got to be a breaking point when we've got Google and all the other computer companies and tech companies admitting they're for Hillary, and CNN admitting it, and all the rest of the craziness, and Hillary obviously so ill, and then MSNBC saying, oh, Trump doesn't sleep enough. He's crazy. He's unfit. This is an incredible time. Roger Stone, in your gut, what do you think is going to end up happening with this election?
I see a narrow Donald Trump win. I see Trump triumphing in these debates because the only thing predictable about Donald Trump is that he's entirely unpredictable. So Hillary will never know where he's going to come. Could it be Bill's history as a sexual predator and Hillary's history of bullying and intimidating his victims? Could it be Benghazi and the arming of ISIS and issues pertaining to her tenure as Secretary of State? Could it be the epic corruption of the Clinton Foundation? Could it be the 1994 crime bill, which incarcerated an entire generation of young black men for nonviolent crimes, including possession of small amounts of drugs? A law that Hillary said was necessary because black people were super predators and had to be brought to heel. It could be any of those things or anything else. So I think that the debates are an opportunity for Trump. I think he will exploit that opportunity, and therefore, and when you add to that what I think will be the bombshell revelations dropped by WikiLeaks, I think by Election Day, Hillary is thoroughly discredited.
Do you know, or are you at liberty to give us any other hints? I mean, Assange has said some of it is Hillary sending weapons to ISIS, the total proof. I mean, we know that happened, but it'd be great to have that. Any other hints?
Nothing that I'm able to talk about. I'm not going to upstage one of the great freedom fighters in the world today, Julian Assange.
But you, a little bird told you, or you just have a feeling that we might see this dribbled out at the debates?
We have mutual friends, and often I was very careful in my words. I never said I met with him. I never said I spoke with him. We have communicated through a trusted mutual friend, and he is committed to this course. Nobody is changing his documents. His documents, as always, will be genuine. And I think that he's got information on the entire U.S. establishment power.
And like you said, no Saudi connections, no Russia connections for Trump. He's clean.
He has certainly sold apartments to some wealthy Saudis. He has he's never met Vladimir Putin. Unlike Hillary, who took huge amounts of cash.
Sure, exactly. Everything she blames Trump for, she's actually doing. So this is just an incredible time. Assange, though, when he talks about Hillary, just shakes his head with the info he's got. I mean, imagine what it must be like to just actually see what these people are involved in.
Well, but to make it absolutely clear, and I wrote this for Breitbart, we now know for a certainty that the DNC heist documents were not leaked by the Russians, had nothing to do with the Russians, were hacked and first made public by Crucifer II almost a month ago. And when that didn't get the appropriate traction, he took them to WikiLeaks, who then leaked them. So the whole idea that this is Putin, this is the Russians, that Donald Trump and Paul Manafort are somehow in bed with Putin is nonsense. By the way, Putin doesn't particularly like Paul Manafort because Manafort helped convince the Ukrainian president Yanukovych to join the European Union.
No, I know. It's all total bull. All right, Roger Stone, we'll talk to you again soon. Have a great weekend. StoneZone.com, the Clinton rape shirt is up there, folks. Get it, wear it, expose these monsters. Thank you, Roger Stone. It's available at InfoWarsStore.com.